Hello and welcome to the TotalMobile Mobilomics video. Mobilomics is the economics of mobile working, and what we cover here is the why, the what, and how you go about mobilizing your workforce. So, the question why mobilize has been discussed a lot over the past few years. For everyone here at TotalMobile, we believe it's a quite simple argument. It's really just all about making savings, increasing the efficiency, improving your productivity, and ensuring compliance and safety across your workforce. To highlight this point in more detail, we are going to give you the story of one of our customers who has a small gas inspection team and some of the numbers that were involved around delivering that service to the tenants in their area. In order to measure the efficiencies, we are going to need some inputs on the left-hand side. We can see here the gas inspectors and the administrative assistants. And on the right-hand side, we can see performance information that is going to help us calculate the savings. So we can clearly see what this service is costing us and the current rate they are performing at. Moving on to the outputs. Let's look at the effect of using TotalMobile to mobilize this particular workforce. That's the effect of the field workers and what that means to the employees in the back office. We are also going to look at the cashable savings. So where were these efficiencies generated then? Well, your field workers can go straight to their first job without coming into the office, therefore they are saving time. Obviously, all the data they are collecting directly onto the device isn't going onto paper, and therefore doesn't need to be retyped anymore. So the effects on the back office staff is that there is less paper lying around and the data is going straight into the back office system. Ultimately, in a gas inspection environment, that means you can eliminate a lot of the certification that's generated through the mobile collection of this data. So when we start totaling up the columns here, we can see there are a few ways to analyze this. Looking at the left-hand column, we can see that there are over $186,000 worth of efficiency savings that can be redirected into other frontline services. Or equal it on the right-hand side, and you can see that extra capacity equate into over 3,600 jobs, which has been generated alongside cashable savings to improve service delivery. And all this from a 12-person team in a single year. So that's the why, and it's an extremely compelling argument, and agencies are buying into that all over the country. But the question that agencies are asking now is, what are my options when choosing an enterprise mobile solution? Currently, we believe that there are three main approaches out there for agencies. What's interesting about the three different approaches is that the technical methods used to create the platform can have significant consequences on the agency's ability to implement the system to its workforce. I'm going to explain this by drawing a handful of graphs to highlight this in more detail. To explain the graphs, across the x-axis, we have a range of departments covering adult services, environmental health, environmental services, children and juvenile services, and waste management. We highlighted in red the number of mobile users across those departments, and on the y-axis we can see the costs relating to mobilizing each of those departments on a packaged mobile application platform. So the example that we are going to look at first is what we call the bespoke solution. What we mean by bespoke is that an external company will come in and write you a piece of software from scratch tailored to your needs and requirements. So what we can see here as we are drawing out the graph is that the pricing is relatively static across each of those departments. Now, despite the fact that each of those departments might have significantly less mobile users in there, it doesn't really matter when it comes down to a bespoke solution because the cost is attached from the number of users. The amount of code that needs to be written to get you off the ground needs to be written regardless of whether there is one user or 100 users in that department. Now, there are many generic reasons why going down the bespoke route can also cause lots of issues. But I think the critical one at the moment for an agency who's considering this is that the lead-up time to map the business processes and to actually create the software is quite significant. And with the spending cuts upon us, efficiencies need to be generated immediately. Therefore, getting your system live and operational quickly is essential. What you are seeing on the screen at the moment is in the common element of choosing the bespoke path. It's the extra emphasis cost that you need to put onto the project in order to get your solution live. So, in conclusion, this is the core of the issue for going down the bespoke solution path. Your cost is static regardless of your users, and therefore there is no economies of scale for you to leverage. So as your department shrinks in mobile workers, the cost rockets on a per user basis. Now, let's look at another example, the toolkit option. Now this is where you would buy into a piece of software from an external company, which you would then hand to your IT team. From that piece of software, they would create applications for the workers within the agencies. So effectively, your IT team is doing the development. Importantly, on the y-axis, it's not just the cost of the software that were included here, but also the resources needed from your IT team to complete the development. Your issues start when a department requires a more technical solution. They might need more tool system integration. What happens is the internal demand goes up, and especially if you don't have dedicated resources such as developers in-house, it becomes increasingly difficult to price on a per-user basis what the total cost of the project will actually be for the agency. So let's move on to the final option, which is how TotalMobile would approach a mobile working project. So the approach of using TotalMobile is off the shelf. This is important because no code needs to be written. There's no bespoke variations, and currently we don't charge for any changes or any change requests that are put through to us on the mobile working product. It's a very flexible system. Importantly, as you can see in the graph, the price is relevant to the amount of users that are in that department. So you can start small or you can start big. The size of the project doesn't really matter. The important point here is that the corporate-ready nature of TotalMobile frees the agency to mobilize the department that requires immediate attention. So our ability to quickly deploy our applications means that the agency start to realize the efficiencies and start realizing the savings as quickly as possible given the current state of the financial climate. So by using TotalMobile, a local authority can clearly plan ahead and see how much a corporate-ready project will cost them over the life of the system. So how is it that we can offer this approach using TotalMobile? Well, critically, TotalMobile is made up of a range of applications, which we will introduce now. It is a pre-built, highly configurable, and live across a range of customer size. First, we have Visits, which interacts with the user's calendar to tell them what they are doing that day. We have Forms, which can replicate any paper forms and display them on the device. Folio can pull down information from back-office systems and display them on your tablet or PDA. Materials and timesheets show our costly information to be captured against tasks. Supervisors can manage multiple timesheets through Team Time. And Job Builder is there for pre-inspections and surveyors out on site. Compliance enforces health and safety procedures, while incidents and bulletins are corporate-wide applications for the recording of issues that you might see in the street and the pushing down of information to PDA devices other than using email. So how does this all get pulled together? Rather than actually building very specific solutions for each different type of role within the agency, we actually broke down all the mobile workers into 5 different work types. To explain this a little bit more, a task worker is probably given a list of jobs to do throughout the day, and once those jobs are completed, they are finished. A caseworker is someone who might repeatedly visit a service user, perhaps someone within adult services. An inspector will probably reside within regulatory services or consumer protection, filling out forms and passing out inspections on site. An enforcement worker is handing out fixed penalty notes on the spot. And the corporate user, or the citizen in this case, could be anybody out there with a mobile device that could log issues that they see in the community and feed those into a CRM system. Let's talk about the devices for a second. TotalMobile can work on a range of devices, and we just got a few here. So what we have for the task worker would be a PDA. We now have paper and information that might be needed on screen in case an inspector might prefer a tablet with a 3G connection. And your enforcement workers and corporate or citizen users might use a PDA, maybe a touchscreen version in this case. So let's start tying all of this together. What we're doing here is taking the application that we introduced on the earlier screen. They have been downloaded to the device, they're collecting information, they're passing that data through our integration layer, which is an integration server, and out into the relevant database. The same goes for the caseworker, going out into adult or children's services, and again, for the inspector. Now, the way that we handle the integration within TotalMobile is that we have a whole range of what we call adapters, which simply push and pull data from the back office systems out to the mobile devices and sends it back again. And this can work across any database in your department that is capable of sending data out and pulling data back in. So that's the TotalMobile approach. Quite simply, we are combining pre-built applications to create robust solutions for your mobile workforce. And because TotalMobile is off the shelf, we can have you up and running very quickly. Therefore, you can start generating a return on your investment. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us using the details on the screen, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.